Welcome to Libby's Leadership Lab. I'm Libby Gill, and I'm here to help you level up your leadership skills so you can create the professional life you really want without sacrificing your personal life. I've been guiding women executives and entrepreneurs for more than 30 years. First, as a C-suite corporate exec, heading communications at 3 major Hollywood studios, and now as a business owner and leadership coach. So let's get started. It's time to invent your future. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Leadership Lab. Now, let me ask you this. What if you could go from startup to superstar just by applying a few simple principles to your business or your career? Now, I'm not talking about a get rich quick or get to the top immediately. I'm talking about doing the work, but with some help from a consultant who has worked in more than 300 industries. He's worked with companies like InfusionSoft, which many of us know very well, and FanDuel. And if you don't know FanDuel, you probably don't have a fantasy sports spouse at home like I do. And Perry Marshall, our guest today, has taken those companies from startup to millions in revenue. And he's here to share a little bit about how he did that with us. Welcome, Perry. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about. Well, now you've got some simple principles you're going to share with us. But first, I gave a little introduction, but I'd love to hear more about you and how you got started and how you ended up working with and guiding so many different companies that have been so successful over the years.
Well, so I'm the pastor's kid from Nebraska who got an engineering degree and moved to Chicago. And about 2.5 years into the engineering job, my wife was 3 months pregnant, and I got laid off.
Oh.
And the plan was already for my wife to stay home from work, but that just put even more pressure on me. And so I basically went into sales. It's like, well, this shouldn't be too hard.
No,
well,
engineering to sales, that is absolutely a natural leap.
Yeah. Well, so 2 years of bologna sandwiches and ramen soup and baked potatoes and salsa and, every form of cheap food that you can imagine. It was like, wow, this is way harder than I thought it would be. I actually got fired from that job. But near the end, I had stumbled into the world of direct marketing. And
Yes.
And I understood that if I learned how to generate leads, then they could be calling me instead of me chasing them around. And that transformed my life. In fact, next job, we started doing that with our website. And instead of going to work and opening the manufacturer's directory and pounding the phone and trying to find somebody who would talk to me, I'd get, there'd probably be 4 or 5 emails in my email box like, this person wants more information about your hardware, your software, what have you. And boy, that was better than therapy. Like having customers that actually want to talk to you
and want what you have to offer. What a concept.
Right.
So now I would think that sort of lead generation, that made a little bit more sense to your mechanical analytical brain.
Exactly. I listened to all these sales tapes and read all these sales books, but it never completely gelled. It was like,
Right.
It still was kind of this jumbled mess of all of these little bits of advice. And what the direct marketing people did was said, well, this is a process. And, it starts with getting somebody's attention. And then, and then you start going down the line. And all of a sudden I could see, like, I remember one day I had been studying how do you do copywriting and how do you write a sales page. And I was in a sales appointment and I thought, hey, wait a minute. This is the same thing. Like,
But
okay, it's all of the elements are the same. It's just whether it's verbal or whether it's written. Like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get this, and so you could say direct marketing is the engineering version of advertising and marketing. And so I really took to that. And
Yeah.
it turns out, after Google books and Facebook books and all of that, yeah, actually the engineering background was a fantastic foundation.
And I bet the the sales part of it, even though you decided that is not my personality and skill set, but it sounds like you married those two together successfully.
Yes, and any good copywriter will tell you most of the best marketers had a season of knocking on doors, selling vacuum cleaners, selling Girl Scout cookies, fundraising, Cutco knives.
Yeah.
Like a few years ago, my daughter was in college and she got a job at Cutco knives. I'm like, that's my girl.
Chip off the old block.
It's not that I really care about Cutco knives one way or the other, but like I went to one of her meetings. It was like, this is old fashioned, old school sales. She's probably not going to do this for the rest of her life, but this is great.
You can't go wrong with sales training.
No.
I mean, or some experience in that. And I feel the same way. I mean, I've been a writer my professional career in advertising and public relations. It's like, how do people exist without that skill? And I think sales is the same. How do you exist whether you're in a corporate career and you've got to position yourself, or you're selling Cutco knives? It's kind of, some of those principles are the same.
So yeah, so I got that under my belt, and then I had an innate understanding of, okay, I've got this person on the phone. I have to say something in 10 seconds that's going to get them to not hang up. Or I just literally knocked on this door of this house.
Yeah.
And I got to say something to the guy or the lady, right? And that's the foundation of marketing right there.
Right. Grabbing them, hooking them. So now I would imagine in your career, direct marketing, what you started out calling direct marketing and what today's direct marketing must be night and day, right?
Well, of course it is. On another level, it's actually exactly the same. It's just 10,000 times faster.
Yeah.
Right. So Claude Hopkins wrote Scientific Advertising in 1918, and he basically had it all figured out then.
Yeah, right.
When Google came along, it's like, oh, well, this is just scientific advertising in cyberspace, right?
It's all of those great masters from Dale Carnegie and Norman Vincent Peale. I mean, all of that is we've just kind of caught up the platforms.
That's right. So, and then that helps too, because, you read, like we've got these Google books. We just had new Google and new Facebook books come out. And if you're doing Google or Facebook advertising, you should get them. But they're usually about 3 years apart between editions. And so you get 2 years later, the platforms have changed.
Please tell me about it.
But no, the other stuff didn't change. It's all the same. It's all the same principles, right? And that's the important part, is the Claude Hopkins part is exactly the same. And
it's just the widgets and all those. Okay, got it. All right. Now, so you wrote a fabulous book that I read cover to cover called Detox, Declutter, Dominate, which is just awesome. And it's a super quick and easy read. Let me get it there so everybody can see it. We'll put this in the show notes. And you've isolated 7 steps that everybody needs to walk through. And it's probably just exactly what you're talking about. It's those principles that really never change, just how you apply them. Can you walk us through those and explain what those steps are?
Yes. And after consulting hundreds of industries and every kind of business you can think of, like, these are the 7. It's like you put a gun to my head and you go, if you're going to reduce these thousands of things down to 7, what are they? Right. These are the 7. So I will walk you through. The first step is use Renaissance time to gain discernment and clarity. Renaissance time is my term for, it's the 20 minutes that you spend in the morning. No social media, no cell phone, no texting, no CNN, nobody jerking your chain. And it's your notebook, it's your inspirational reading, it's your thoughts, it's your gratitude, it's your idea that you just got in the shower, and it's you getting yourself sorted out in your inner space before you put your clothes on and face the world.
Okay.
And
Because I love that you now I hear where the Nebraska preacher's son is coming through, because you talk about spirituality and creativity, which
yes,
I talk about, and it used to scare those New York editors, like, oh, you're getting woo-woo on us.
right.
And I love that you tie those to business principles and strategies.
They're intimately connected.
Yeah.
And the worst way to start your day is to grab a device right off your
Guilty.
nightstand, pull it in, and start scrolling. Right, email, Facebook, news,
News.
what have you. Okay, that is because what you've done is you have started your day reacting to everybody else's crisis.
External as opposed to being internal.
Right,
Okay.
right. If you're an entrepreneur, yes, you have customers and yes, you have clients, but your number one job is to build your business and your vision so that it attracts customers in general, whether any customers in particular today are coming or going.
Got it. Okay. So,
Right?
and what do you call that first step again? And I'm
Renaissance,
reading. Oh,
Renaissance,
Renaissance time.
and that,
Renaissance.
because we need a new Renaissance. The last one was 500 years ago. That's too long.
Yeah.
You need less time between Renaissances.
Well, I also like that term because it's, you think of the Renaissance man or woman as really broad, and, those liberal arts majors like my kids.
Yes,
It's that thinking time and that time with self. Okay.
yes, and
That's,
it's connecting different worlds together,
yeah, all those pieces.
and
All
that
right.
only happens when you have space.
Yeah. And in a practical sense, it's that 15-minute meeting with yourself every morning. Is it okay.
That's right. Like,
That's
you can do what you want with that time, but this is your time.
right. Got
You
it.
look
Okay.
at your schedule. You want to read the book of Psalms. You want to do your meditation
Yeah.
exercises, like whatever. But
Yeah.
that it's sacred.
Sacred time. Got it. Love that. Okay. Step 2.
Step 2: make your business 2 times more profitable with 80/20 focus.
Okay. Now I've heard of 80-20 focus. We're kind of, sort of, everybody's heard of that, but doesn't really know how to apply. So can you
Most
unpack
people.
that?
So I remember when I first heard about 80/20, I was reading in this book and it said 20% of your business customers generate 80% of your business. And I
Right.
thought, is that right? And I went through a sales report. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And then I didn't really realize what it meant.
Okay.
Okay, it's much deeper than people think. So number one, it's not just this business rule of thumb, it's everything, everywhere, all over the place, all the time. Almost every column or spreadsheet or data or event in your business is
Mhm.
80/20. Almost everything. Facebook, Google, customers, product returns, product defects, vendors, bad employees, good employees, it's all 80/20. Secondly, there's an 80/20 inside every 80/20. So not only does 80% of your business come from 20% of your customers, 80% of the 80% of business comes from 20% of 20% of customers.
Okay.
That
All right.
means 2/3 of your business comes from 4% of your customers, and
Wow.
half of your business comes from 1% of your customers.
So if you really nurture those right customers, you're not always out there scrambling for others.
Yes, most people are treating, if let's say a company has 30 clients,
Mm-hmm.
most companies are sort of kind of not exactly thinking about it, but roughly treating them all the same.
Yeah. Right.
Well, no, like 2 or 3 of them deserve as much attention as the other 25.
Combined.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
that is how you should allocate your time, because they have much more growth potential. They're a much better match, et cetera, et cetera. And then this applies to almost everything in your business. So you don't, here's the point, you don't have to solve nearly as many problems as you think you do.
Wow. Okay. So that also takes in delegation. I always think that I want to spend my time, 80% of my time should be things that only I can do, that I can't farm out. That's where,
Mhm.
speaking and writing, those are things I do well. And I love one-on-one coaching.
Right.
But, I was going to say travel plans. We don't have those anymore, but doing my bookkeeping and travel plans and admin and all of that, I don't need to be doing that.
No, no.
Does
In fact,
that fall into that
there's a
factor as
chart
well?
in the book, and it's got $10 an hour, $100 an
Yeah,
hour,
right,
$1,000, $10,000 an hour work.
right.
You should be pushing as hard as you can towards the $1,000 an hour work
Yeah.
and getting rid of the $10 an hour as fast as humanly possible.
So it's so interesting in my coaching work. I can't tell you how many executives I've said, hi, you don't have a full-time housekeeper, you don't have an organizer, you don't have somebody, hire even executives that have an assistant at work but need one at home. It's like, farm all that out. What are you wasting your time on doing that for?
Yes, and washing your clothes, washing your
Yeah.
dishes, cooking, gassing your car, the honeydew project, that stuff is way easier to outsource than business stuff.
Yes.
Like,
Unless back to your what you love and what drives you, cooking, not me. My husband, if he couldn't cook, he's got to be in the kitchen.
right, right.
That's his happy place.
Yeah, that's a given. That's a given. But
Right.
there's stuff all of us don't want to be
Yeah.
doing. And
Yeah.
it's way easier to find a cook or a maid than a copywriter.
Yeah, it's so true. This is why I have a roster of like handymen and all these, because it's like executive. And when I ask people what's stressing them, well, I've got this thing in my house and but get it fixed. Get it fixed. Here, go on TaskRabbit. Go on find somebody and fix it. Okay, so we get that 80-20, where you spend your time, where you nurture your clients. Got it. Okay, what's next?
Step three, earn $1,000 an hour, at least 1 hour a day,
Oh, I like that.
80,
All
20.
right.
Now, most people think about time like, well, I charge my clients $50 an hour, and I don't know, maybe I should charge them 55. That's not the right way to think about time.
Right.
Think about time like this. Dentist office. Helen answers the phone. Wooddale Dental, can you hold? And then she puts them on hold for 10 minutes. They were ready to spend $5,000 on dental work. And 2 minutes later, hi, can I help you? And they're gone.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now think about this. Helen lost $5,000 of business in 2 minutes.
Right.
That's
A lot.
$150,000 an hour.
Yeah.
That she lost.
Yeah.
Even though she makes $15 an hour.
Yeah. Wow.
A $15 an hour person can and does lose $150,000 an hour for little bits of time.
Yeah.
Multiple times a month. So when I talk about $1,000 an hour or $10,000 an hour time, I'm not joking.
Yeah. Right.
So Helen doesn't think about money this way.
But if you, as a leader, plug those holes, not only are you not going to drain that business, but when she responds, she's booking somebody, she's got a happy client and potential referrals, and everything works.
Yes.
So, okay.
The time spent plugging the holes is $1,000 an hour work.
Yes.
It's way more important than emptying the wastebasket or shoveling the snow.
So is this analogous when I've got leaders, especially in the corporate world, that have open positions? They've got 3 jobs open.
Yeah.
And they're doing 4 jobs. They're doing those and all the others, and they don't stop to recruit or hire to get somebody in there I think, no, you got to stop. You can't do all those jobs. You've got to hire. And they have the focus on the wrong place. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Well, hiring is $1,000 an hour task because hiring, the wrong person costs 4 to 14 times their salary.
Wow.
Okay, and I was doubtful of that. Nancy Schlesinger is a hiring recruiting specialist that is one of my clients for years. And when she first said that, I was like, you sure about that? And then I had a bookkeeper that we terminated. And 6 months later, you find, oh, she overpaid these
Yeah,
vendors.
mistakes.
Like, oh, there was no question this person cost us more than her salary. So
Right.
picking the right people is exquisitely important.
I love that you ask, are you sure about that? You're sort of the philosopher skeptic, I think.
Yeah.
You got to prove, that's back to that engineer. Prove it to me. Let's look at the data and see if that's a fact. I love that.
Right. Right. Well, you're paying somebody $30 an hour, but they make $1 million an hour mistake once
Yeah.
every 6 months.
That's expensive. Yeah. Okay. What's our next step, Perry?
Okay. Next step, create an irresistible product that's a joy to use by simplifying.
Yes, I saw that and it made me think, oh, what is my irresistible product? I think I've got one. But so what does that mean? Is it a big, is it Google? Is it a little
Well,
tiny thing?
so Google is a great example because
Yeah.
think back to when Google was just one of those mini search engines.
Yeah.
And all the other ones were filled with bling, and
Yeah.
Google was white page with a box.
Yeah.
And you write letters and words into the box.
Right.
Okay, that is a perfect emblem of simplification.
Simplicity.
All the world's information, but all I have to do is type something in and press enter. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, most of us aren't going to start Google, but let me give you an example.
Okay.
At the end of this book, I have the story of Mark McShirley. He has a company called Roof Simple. That's the name of the company. And they really do live up to the name. They're in Washington, D.C. And Mark came into this company and he said, if I'm totally honest with myself, people hate getting their roof done. They hate dealing with the roofing salesman. They hate dealing with the roofing crew.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just kind of a drag.
Yeah.
I am going to meticulously shave irritations and extra steps off of this.
Okay.
And I'm going to make it a pleasure to get a roof done. In fact, he puts a concierge on site
To oversee.
to make sure. So they hire roofing contractors. They don't actually employ the people directly, but they hire contractors, but they have somebody on site who is making sure that all of the interactions, whether it's dropping nails in the yard or anything like that, everything is taken care of.
Yeah.
As a result of meticulously going through every last bit of how you buy the roof, all of it, he's got 300 reviews, 4.8 stars.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get 300 4.8 star reviews on a roofing company by accident.
No kidding. Yeah. Right. You got to work for that.
But I just want to drive home.
Yeah.
A roofing company is not Google. This is not Apple. This is not Facebook. This is not Airbnb. This is a roofing company.
A regular guy with a regular business. I also love the language there. I think it's so brilliant to call it a concierge. I mean, that elevates it.
Yes.
I have a client that happens to be a casino here in Southern California, and they had to deal with all the COVID like everybody else. And they have a safety or numerous safety concierges. And I thought, what a great term instead of like the compliance officer, to have people watching out for safety. And to have a roofing concierge, I think, well, that's kind of white glove treatment. I like that.
Yes. And so it enables them to charge above average prices,
right,
with people still being happy with what they get.
Yeah.
And it's obviously working. And so it's incredibly powerful. He simplified the customer experience.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Got that one. What's next?
Number 5, carve out the niche where you're the undisputed number one via star principle. So what this says is you want to be a big fish in a little pond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't want to be just a business coach. Maybe you want to be a business coach for female executives between the ages of 50 and 60 who work in manufacturing.
Right.
Because
Specific.
there isn't anybody else. You don't want to be one of all of these other people. And I can't tell you how important this is. In fact, if you can't be number one in a growing market, don't even start the business.
Don't bother.
Don't bother.
Yeah.
Because 80% of the money is made by the number one people in a growing market.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the other money is from people that are number one in a not growing market, but as long as it's not shrinking, like Procter and Gamble, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that laundry detergent is growing, but they own it and it's steady, right? So that's
Yeah.
business. All the other businesses are not good businesses.
Right. Okay. And
So that eliminates 90%.
It's so counterintuitive, though, isn't it? That I'm going to go so deep and narrow and focused, and yet many more people will find me that way.
Well, right. People have no idea. And after I have coached so many businesses and I have started so many businesses, people have no idea how much money you can make, even if you're just the number one person for owners of Vietnamese potbelly pigs. Like, it could be the tiniest little market.
Yeah.
If you would be surprised at how much money is in these little markets.
It's so funny. I've been studying up on Nigerian pygmy goats. So I know what you're talking. Who knew? There's a whole category, but it's so specific.
Exactly.
It's so interesting. Okay. What's next, Perry?
Number 6, build an impenetrable moat around your business.
All right.
So I think it's easy to start businesses. I could fall out of bed tomorrow and I could start a business. I've seen so many businesses come and go. I don't think starting businesses is interesting. What I think is interesting is getting businesses to last.
Is growing them. Yeah.
And your business will not last unless you have a moat around your castle.
Okay.
The most important thing about the castle is not the castle, it's the moat.
That's funny. Okay. So I just hit 20 years as a business owner.
Yeah.
Never even thought about it when I was in my back in the corporate days. Never occurred to me that I would want my own business. And as soon as I started, it was like, they can't beg me to go back. I love working with my corporate folks, but I don't want to be in their shoes. Yeah. I must have built a moat of some kind. What does a moat look like?
In your case, it might be personality. You might be the only person who does a whole combination of things, and you have relationships. And probably the easiest moat for anybody like you or me is personality.
Yeah.
And personality is a moat. It's like, well, when you kick the bucket, there isn't anybody else like you, and everybody knows that. Okay. Right. But if you want to build something that's bigger than just yourself, there has to be something that you can do that other people can't. So let me kind of jump to some advanced moat concepts.
Okay, advanced moat 3.0. All right, we're ready for the 500 classes.
So old moats are buildings, land, money, capital, distribution channels, car dealerships, Toyota having billion-dollar factories. Those are 20th century moats. Okay.
Yeah.
21st century moats. Best example. Uber gets more riders, which attracts more drivers, which lowers the wait time, which attracts more riders, which attracts more drivers, which lowers the wait time.
Right. So you built
rinse, repeat for 10 years.
Yeah.
Good luck starting a taxi company anywhere. Right? Because the way Uber works, the faster the flywheel turns, the fatter the moat. I mean, that is a moat.
Yeah. Right.
And eBay and Facebook and Amazon and Google and all of those have network effect moats. So what do regular people like us do? Because I'm not Google and neither are you, right? So let me go back to Mark at Roof Simple. So Mark has 304.8 star Google reviews. Reviews attract reviews.
Right.
Reviews attract customers. Customers attract reviews. It's not hard to get into the roofing business, but it is hard. Having a well-oiled machine, a well-orchestrated thing that delivers a great customer experience. And then when you have 300 reviews in Washington, D.C., and it's that good, okay, so how's the next roofing company going to get to 300?
For sure. You already own the customer base. Yeah.
Right. Well, in this book, I talk about 12 different, I call them network effect for mere mortals. They are things that real human beings without billions of dollars, without venture capitalists, with just elbow grease can do.
Yeah.
If you have 2 or 3 of them, your business is a whole lot harder to take out than it looks.
It can be a little risky too. Let me run this by you and see what you think. I think I've accidentally stumbled into some of your principles, thank goodness. But I wrote a book about the science of hopefulness, which is not abstract, it's not fuzzy, it's about having a future vision and moving towards it. And I thought, you know, I'm going to speak on this topic, and people thought I was nuts. Now I'm the only person. There are a couple of books about it. One is the basis of it, totally unreadable, written by a psychologist. And it was like, and it's a beautiful book, but it's, you know, it's a textbook.
Yeah.
And so people now know me as, oh, she talks about hope theory. And it's like, at first it was like, is that going to be crazy? Will corporate citizens understand this? And lo and behold, they do. Once I explain it, they do. And so that's kind of that principle of, hey, I'll go out on this limb because nobody else is out there.
Okay, so let's point out several ways in which you used what's in the principles. Okay, so first of all, you did create an irresistible product that's a joy to use by simplifying. What you did was you simplified hope.
Yep.
Okay, because you make it easier to connect the dots and like, oh, I get it now. Okay.
I have a process based on the theories.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you also did step 5, carve out the niche where you're the undisputed #1 via star principle. You created the niche.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, who's authors about like hope and business and where those two ideas intersect? Well, it's Libby Gill.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then if you build a community with proprietary language where everybody shares that language, then that becomes a moat. It becomes ridiculously harder than one would think. It's like, oh, I'm going to write a hope book in the next 30 days in Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. I'm just going to put it out there and I'm going to compete with Libby. It's like, yeah, you can do that. But you know what? Getting the customers, getting the reviews, getting that flywheel going is harder than you think it is. And you're always going to be #2 and she's #1.
Awesome. Yay, I did something right, Perry. This is very reconfirming. Okay, I think we're at step 7, right?
Okay, step 7, enjoy freedom to create and reinvent every single day.
I love that one.
And
all right.
I'm totally serious about this.
Yeah.
This is a step. This isn't just, oh, and when your business is successful, you can sip Mai Tais at the beach. That's not what this is about.
Right.
What this is saying is actually all the entrepreneurs I know, they pretty much, they love what they do. They're engrossed in it. They're workaholics. They think about it all the time. They do it all the time. And God bless them. It's great. Here's the problem is, like, if you live the entrepreneurial life, going and playing Scrabble is just not that exciting. And most entrepreneurs' recreation is not sufficiently interesting and engaging. What you do for fun needs to be just as intense and engaging as what you do for work. Why?
Oh, interesting. I'd never thought of it that way. Okay.
Right. Like most people I know laying on the beach.
Not fun for a long time. Yeah.
It's fine for 3 hours, but not right. It's like, no, maybe you're bungee jumping or maybe you're into neuroscience, or maybe you're like a Ironman marathon, or whatever you're into.
I'll say mine is cerebrally intense. As I've just finished my first novel.
Yeah.
A long process.
Sure.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
creative. It was really fun. And it's what I love. Books.
No,
Yeah.
so true or false? You 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 hang up your business for a little while, you go write novels, and you do that, and you get lost in it. 5 hours go by, and you did your characters and everything. And then isn't it funny how maybe it's that day, maybe it's the next day, it's like, hey, I could suddenly totally know how to solve that business problem. Like,
Yeah. It just opens up that part of the brain that's just wired then.
right. And what I'm saying is that is a strategy, and that is something that you need to do. And all work and no play does make Jack a dull boy.
Yeah.
And like you need, so if writing novels is your, like, oh man, that captivates me, that squirts happy juice into my brain,
Yeah.
then give yourself total permission and write novels.
Yeah.
Go to novel writing classes
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
whatever it entails.
Yeah. Right.
That's step 7. And that's the other form of Renaissance time. So the first
Yeah.
Renaissance time is meditative, and then the second is exploration and
Is
art.
the active piece of it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then reading, writing, and hiking. Those are my happy places.
Yeah, nature, right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Wow, this is so fascinating. I think you're like I know you're in Chicago, but I see you as like you're like a mountain guy in your library, solving big problems, philosopher. So what is your happy place? What do you do for that creative fun
Uh,
time?
I'm going to Ireland next week.
Next week? Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, that's my happy place. I'm happy like climbing a mountain in Western Ireland. So the COVID stuff is just such that I figured out a way to do it. So
Good for
uh,
you.
yeah,
Good.
I'm looking forward
That's
to it.
my other is international travel and exotic places. Yeah, that's another big one. Can't wait for that all to come back and be open for us so we can go do all of those wonderful things again. Well, good for you. That sounds great. So Perry, well, first I've got a question. If you were going to give this is our laboratory here, and I see you sitting in your laboratory of books. If you're going to give a homework assignment, a risk, an experiment to our listeners, what can you challenge us with that we can apply like right away? What's our first thing that we can do to apply some of your principles?
Okay, for 7 days, I want you, when you roll out of bed, you do not scroll or react to anybody's drama. I
Okay.
want you to take your shower, get your cup of coffee, and spend 20 minutes
With yourself.
open spiritual space, probably with a notebook or something like that, and just
Okay.
get yourself sorted out.
Okay.
Set a timer, 20 minutes. At the end of 20 minutes, you can dive into your day. But before that, you get to just experience. You can enjoy the taste of your coffee, or you can have gratitude about last night, or whatever you want to do. You can pray, you can listen, you can meditate, but the rest of the world does not get intrude. Try that for 7 days and see how it changes your quality of life.
7 days, that's doable. I'm going to do it. I'm going to start tomorrow. 7 days, because I tend to, once I look at what time is my first meeting, then it's in my hand and my head. So I'm going to shut all of that out.
Yeah.
And just focus time for me. All right, Perry. Now tell us where we can find more about you and everything you're doing and all the cool stuff you do in your books. And of course, we'll put all this in the show notes too.
Go to perrymarshall.com and put in your email address, and I'll punch you in the face immediately. And I will challenge you to play a much bigger game than you're playing right now. Perry
All
Marshall.
right. I'm on board. It was such a pleasure meeting you. You're so much fun and so smart, and you make it simple somehow, Perry.
Can I tell you a super, super quick story?
Absolutely.
This is a 36-page book. You know how I ended up with a 36-page book?
No.
A year ago, I had a 150-page book, and I sent it to my friend Rob.
Yes.
And he said, I'll be back. I'm like, okay. And a couple weeks later, he goes, Perry, I 80-20'd your book.
Oh, that's so great. He turned your principles on you.
he went through my manuscript, chop, 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 8,000 words. And then he made some illustrations.
Yeah.
That's how he's like, Perry, you didn't need those other 40,000 words.
Well, you do sometimes when you read a business book, you feel like it's one idea expanded over and over and over and over. This is like, I got to say, it's like a comic book, but it's like the smartest comic book you can find because you've got all these really wacky, fun graphs and little people and all of that. And it's wisdom in a really simple package. So I appreciate that. So we're going to go to perrymarshall.com and find out how to get all that great insight and creativity from you, Perry. So thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. That is a wrap, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.